place in the home stretch here. Just tuck it out of the way so it's not interfering with any other wires. Put the dash back. At this point, we're more or less ready to connect everything. So I'm going to plug in the little alarm. We don't want the thing to hang and rattle around, so we put some double-sided tape on it. I stick it usually to the back of the Madman in an application like this. And please, this must go in firmly, because if it doesn't, it's going to rattle loose. This thing is quite loud. So there we tuck it in. It's double-sided tape to the side. The benzene just quickly dissolves any oil and evaporates very quickly. Okay, now we're going to pull the double-sided tape. All right. To take back a bit of the slack. And there we go. So now we're going to set up the calibration. 650 in the exhaust manifold is sort of that's a good safe temperature. A high caution, where it goes to yellow or gives you an amber alert, I'm now going to select that and change it down to 600 degrees. There is no alarm output water. It's already set up with the alarm on, with a high alarm at 105 degrees with a caution at 98, which for most vehicles is below their boiling point of their water cap. Low caution, you can actually set a low alarm as well if you're in a very cold climate and you don't want to start the car in sub-zero temperatures. Here it's factory default as off. Channel 2, transfer case oil temperature. Again, this is set from the factory with a high alarm at 115, a high caution at 110, low caution at 40, and the low alarm is set off. Channel 3 is the oil pressure, again set from factory. It already comes as MPS 7. The high alarm is on, high alarm set to a 7 bar, low alarm, high alarm caution is 6 bar, low alarm caution is 1. Now in some vehicles, their oil pressure is extremely low. The Td5 I think is oil pressure is all right, but some vehicles run an extremely low operating oil temperature at idle, and so you might have to lower the lower caution and the lower alarm. Lower alarm on this one, we'll leave it as 0.5. Channel 4 will automatically go to oil pressure switch activated normally. When I go to it, it'll say oil pressure switch activated. There are basic settings already set here. Its high alarm is 14.5, high caution 14.2. I generally go and change the high alarm to 14.6 or 14.7. Coolant level, you don't even have to set anything on that. You can change things, but as it is from factory, that's how I leave it. RPM setup, we haven't installed RPM in this thing, so we will go to select RPM and we'll turn that function off. Oil pressure switch setup, you'll remember in channel 4 it said oil pressure switch activated. I'm going to go there and I'm going to tell it to switch itself off, because I'm going to use the oil pressure sender as my oil pressure switch. So I'm going to change that. I'm going to tell that to go off. I'm going to go back to channel 4, analog 4, my boost sender, and this was not a 10 bar, it's a 2 bar. Then I'm going to go and change the label. Instead of oil pressure, I'm going to say BOST. Unit is in bars. Display maximum is going to be, I'm going to change it to down to 2 bar. Accept. Display minimum is 0. High alarm, I would, on some vehicles you'll need a high alarm boost on for overboost, especially if you've got a turbo petrol car, you want to watch that. Here we're going to change the alarm down to let's just call it 1.9, and it gives you a high alarm at 1.9 bar. I don't know what the boost is on this car. I don't know if it's had any work done to it, so I'll leave it at that and it can be changed. High caution is no longer 6 bar. We're gonna, let's call it 1.7 bar. The low caution, we don't need a low caution, a low boost caution at all. So we're gonna change that to 0 and accept, and we're gonna switch the low alarm off. Otherwise, when you're in a no boost situation, the alarm will be going off the whole time. Low alarm, we're gonna set to 0 just for good measure. We're not using any of the outputs. You can set a service timer, or you can set an hour meter on this thing to run, monitor how many running hours there are. I'm going to set the hour meter off so it doesn't display on the display. Nothing on the communication setup, that's a program mode. Under miscellaneous setup, we're going to go and look at the screen display brightness is all I'm really going to change here. It's got a little light sensor on it. So I'm going to set it and say backlight. I'm going to change it from manual to automatic. I'm going to accept that, and I'm going to go down and I'm going to make the dim percentage 30%. I find that to be the most useful. It doesn't bother you while you're driving, but you may like it brighter or darker if depending on your usage. Air temperature or water temperature is 14 degrees at the moment, as well as oil temperature. Oil pressure 3 bar, that's good. Boost nothing. If I rev it a little bit, you'll get a bit of boost signal. So now we know our boost gauge works. And you can scroll through the gauge and choose individual dials. Should you wish to. You might want to monitor a particular thing. So you can choose all of those, an individual gauge. My preference is the gauge with all of the items on it. When it detects no oil pressure, the alarm will go off saying that there's no oil pressure. So if you're getting an alarm with the engine turned off, but the car's ignition on, it's because it's seeing that the car's supposed to be running, but there's 0 oil pressure. So it'll sound an alarm. After about 15 seconds on your first startup, you see it's already flashing red there, saying there's no oil pressure whatsoever. Again, cancel alarm by pushing up or down arrow. And there's your Madman installation.
Hi, it's Brian from Madman Developments here. Our products are made in South Africa and available to everyone around the world. We have an online shop and warehouse in South Africa selling to the world, and a dedicated shop and warehouse in the USA for the Americas. Go to madmandevelopments.com for all the information you need, including shops and contact details for sales and technical assistance.